Welcome to Insights in Touch, the podcast where industry insight meets meaningful conversation. Hosted by Kristen Thorne, this series, presented by iFraud Foundation, explores the real issues facing the property and casualty insurance world. It's the pulse of an industry under pressure and the voices working to protect its future. Stay informed, stay connected, stay in touch. Now, here's your host, Kristen Thorne.
Today on the Insight in Touch podcast, we're joined by Sharky Laguana. He is the CEO of Bandago, which is a really cool van rental company specializing to the music industry. And he also is chairman of the American Car Rental Association. Sharky, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right, let's start first with, I know that Bandago and certainly the car rental companies all across the country are dealing with fraud rings. What have you seen in your own line of work?
Oh my gosh. We are in our 23rd year of business. And I would say for the first 10 or 15 years, something like that, we only had one stolen car. And it was it's kind of a funny situation. They stole it, and somebody told me at the time, "Oh, anytime anybody steals a car, it always turns up, a couple months later." And that was exactly what happened. So, like two or 3 months later, they stole it out of California, and somebody found the vehicle in Oregon, and I was just like, "Oh, okay, I'm glad to get it back." It was really stressful because we were a small company at the time, but we got it back. Then the next time we thought we had a car stolen, it actually turned out it was the governor of Minnesota who took our van by mistake.
Only Minnesota. What is going on in that state?
Tim Pawlenty was campaigning for McCain as a surrogate, and his aide walked into a Days Inn and said, "I'm here to pick up the van." And coincidentally, the band Everclear had dropped their van off at that hotel for us to pick up. So there were two vans at the hotel, and the front desk person gave the aide the key to our van. And so we went to go pick up our van, and they're like, "No, we gave the key." And we're like, "Who'd you give the key to?" And it said, "Some guy in a three-piece suit." It was like, what that? Like, what's going on? I was like, is this a mafia thing or something? Because the band had just played a casino the night before. I was like, did they get trailed or something? So the van was gone for 3 days. And then finally we get this call. "Hey, I'm returning the van. Where am I supposed to return it?" And somebody forwarded it to me right away when they figured out what the van was. And I'm like, "Okay, you're trying to return it. Please, yeah, return it, right? Like, first, let's get the van back." And so he returns it. As soon as he returns it and he leaves, I call him and I'm like, "Can I just ask, how did you come to have our van?" He says, I don't understand. What do you mean?" I said, who gave you permission to take our van?"
Mhm.
And he said a question. You can just imagine what I was thinking at the time. He said, "The Republican Party." And I was like, "The Republican Party? Is this like a psychosis thing?"
Right.
Like
Yes.
I'm just parsing. And so as the conversation progressed, eventually we learned, and I realized, I'm like, oh my God, like uh, the governor of Minnesota stole my van. And so then I was like, well, this is gold, right? Like, so I start calling every reporter I can just to, try and get a mention.
Yeah.
And the local paper in San Francisco gave a little blip, but the best by far was the paper in Minnesota. They wound up writing a story and said Governor Pawlenty goes on a wild stolen van ride, or
Oh
something
my
like that.
gosh, something.
And the quotes, and it was so great because he was considered a possible VP candidate at the time.
Right.
And the quotes, I love this. There was only two people quoted in the whole story, multiple times, and it was the possible future vice president of the United States and Sharky Laguana. Like I was just like, this is like the best
You're
thing that's
like,
ever
I
happened
have
to me.
arrived.
Yeah.
But now
But
it's become like the fraud is much darker.
yes. So I wish we were back in those friendly days of just accidents. But then, probably not even 6 months, a year later, we had a guy come in and he rented a van. And then a couple days later, another guy came in and rented a van. Um, and then a couple days later, another guy came in, and a day after that, another guy came in. And, to us, it just all looked like regular guys. They had totally facially valid driver's licenses. Everything looked solid. Uh, and then none of these vans came back, and the phones all went disconnected, and the credit cards would no longer charge. And we later learned that the driver's licenses, somehow they had gotten DMV to print duplicate driver's licenses of other people who kind of look like them, like close enough that somebody just glancing at it wouldn't be like, it's obviously not them. And then we, it was Florida, so we could have GPS tracking there, and these were expensive vehicles. So we had GPS tracking, and so we turned that on. And the way the GPS system worked, it could do like 2 or 3 days retroactive, uh, you know, um, tracking, so we could kind of see where they've been or where they were going. And it was crazy. Like this was wild. They all went to the same stereo repair shop,
Hmm.
which ironically was just a block and a half from our business. And there the GPS went dark.
Hmm.
And I didn't realize this. I didn't even, because I thought, oh, we're so clever. We had these GPS tracking systems. But you can go on Amazon. You can buy these GPS detectors, and they'll just quickly figure out where the tracker is, and then they'll disable it and remove it. So all four vans went to this. They went dark, and then they completely disappeared.
Hmm.
And then I think we did wind up recovering three, maybe all four, but it wasn't a couple months. It was anywhere from 2 to 4 years.
Wow.
Um, and what wound up happening was, in most cases, they had been sold to the multiple chains of buyers. In other words, they sold it to somebody who later, maybe a year later, sold it to somebody else. They all had new VIN plates. And what happened is a detective was eventually at some point they wound up in an auction or a used car lot or someplace where a detective was investigating looking for stolen cars, and he was able to see either that it was a fraudulent VIN plate or that find a part that had the old VIN on it, track it down. And these poor buyers who are innocent buyers, as far
Hmm.
as I could tell, I mean, in one case it was a church,
Right.
had no idea that they were buying a stolen vehicle, and they don't get compensated for this. The vehicle's just taken from them. They're just completely.
What you see now in this space, is it more stolen vehicles or is it staged accidents or is it both? What are you seeing now?
We're still seeing efforts to steal vehicles and go to Mexico. That's a common tactic. My gosh, I would love to see. We talk about border control. That's great. Border control all you want, but can we maybe stop stolen vehicles from crossing the border? Like that seems like something that's practically easy to do. Apparently not. It's not a thing that we do. And even if we can see vehicles going over the border,
What are you going to do at that point?
Nothing. There's no way to call customs and be like, my vehicle's approaching the border, pull it over. Like
Right.
that's not a thing that exists. And it seems like it could or should be, but I understand there's probably a lot of ins and outs of that. But to be honest, all if you put all of the stolen vehicles that we've ever had in the history of the company, and there's been a few, especially over the past 10 years or so, and you added them all up, it probably wouldn't even be a quarter of what we've seen with staged accidents.
Yeah. So tell me about the staged accidents, what you're seeing.
Well, the modus operandi, as best as we're able to ascertain, is very difficult to protect yourself against. So they will go out and they will solicit people to, they'll use these attractive women and they'll come up to these guys and people in clubs and bars and social gatherings, and they'll ask them, "Are you an Uber driver?" Or I have a job for you that pays pretty well. Would you be interested? And somebody good looking and you're hurting for money, and they're approaching a lot of immigrants, and so these are people who are already. It's a struggle. It's a struggle to find good jobs, especially in an era where there's a lot of things that structurally prohibit you from landing a job. And so when people are desperate and when they can't get work, they're going to tend to seize on these other opportunities. So in a way, they're kind of prey for this. And I wouldn't call them victims per se because they're participants, but they're certainly it's not like it's an idea they came up with. And so what they do is they say, okay, I want you to drive this vehicle, or sometimes it's just, I want you to be inside this car. And so it's going to be one of the two things. You're either a driver or you're a passenger. And if you're a driver,
This
it's
is
like,
after they rent a car.
yeah, they'll say, we want you to go rent a vehicle. We're
Okay.
going to give you money to go rent the vehicle. Or if they're an Uber driver, they'll say, this is what we want you to do with your car, right? Or go become an Uber driver. I don't know, like or DoorDash or whatever. But they'll say, okay, here's what we want you to do. We want you to go rent this vehicle. And then they'll go out to some area in the dark of night where there's not many people around, generally kind of semi-remote areas, no cameras, no traffic cameras, no business cameras, right? And they'll have everybody get out of the car, and then the driver will run the van into the back of a car. And then they'll have everybody get back in the car, and then they'll call the police and report an accident. And the police will show up, and everybody will get out of the car, and they'll claim injuries, and then they have the whole channel locked up. So now everybody has an injury. They now go to a medical clinic for medical evaluation. That medical clinic, this is my understanding of it, is totally part of the scheme. And the medical clinic will say, okay, over the next 6 months, here are all the appointments you're going to have. You don't actually have to come to the appointments, but we're going to tell you what appointments you went to. Sign, these dated appointment forms that you came in 6 months from now. Here is, then they take them on a tour of the medical facility. When you got this work done, this was the machine we used, and they show them the machine. And they basically train them on, here is what you're alleging happened. And then if we are successful in getting a settlement, you'll get $1,500, $2,000, which to these people is a lot of money. Meanwhile, the people that are organizing the fraud are collecting settlements in the deep into six figures,
Hmm.
300, 400, $500,000.
And what does this mean for rental car companies? All of them. I mean, what does it make rates go up for everybody? What does it
Yeah.
do?
Well, I mean, I can tell you exactly what it did for us. Well, so first of all, we wound up over the course of just 2 or 3 months in just one city. We had something like 15 different accidents. And it was just, the first two or three, you're like, wait a second. You're just like, wow, that's a lot of accidents, right? And then after about like eight or nine, you're like, wow, that is a lot of accidents. What is going on? But there's no pattern because they all have legitimate driver's licenses, no criminal history. The kinds of patterns you might see aren't patterns that you can change your business around due to other legal restrictions, anti-discriminatory restrictions. So you can't just say like, oh, anybody that looks like this or talks like this or is from this country, I'm not going to do business with
Clearly.
because that's discriminatory. So you're pretty much just a sitting duck, and you're watching it happen, and you know there's going to be the other shoe is going to drop. You just don't know when. And then about a year later, the lawsuits start arriving. And the net effect is the carrier starts paying out all these claims. So a whole bunch of things happen. One, our rates go up. The amount of coverage that we can offer to the public drops. And in some cases, we can no longer offer it at all. Ceases to be a viable thing that we can offer. So nobody, even if you need it, we can't offer you liability protection in certain states as a direct result of this ring. You so rates go up, and then of course we have all these damaged vehicles. Nobody's paying for that, so we have to pay for it. And that's money out of pocket, which now, this is not a high margin business, believe it or not. Car rental is a very low margin business. And so when things hit the bottom line, they hit the bottom line. And the result is you either have to adjust your rates to help compensate for that, or you go out of business. And the latter is a thing that's happening. I'm seeing people go out of business. I've heard of a couple companies going out of business in just the past month or two. Whether I'm not going to say staged accidents were the cause of that,
But they don't
but
help.
yeah,
They don't help. And I can tell
doesn't
you, I'm
help.
not going to say the name of the company, but I know for a fact that a large national car rental company, it has closed various offices in the New York City metropolitan area because they were associated with such high levels of fraud. Essentially, the word had gotten out there about these individual offices and branches, locations, that it became so problematic that they had to close them. Another thing I know you want to talk about, and I love this because it is sort of an underlying factor in everything that we discuss in fraud: identity. The
Yeah,
idea of many times in fraudulent claims, you don't know who the person, the plaintiff, really is.
yeah, right. I mean, identity is the problem that you would think with AI and technology and everything that we have, biometrics, you would think we would have a lock on this at long last, and would be able to say with a high degree of certainty that the person standing in front of you is who they say they are. And yet, my experience is we are still relying on technology that is over 100 years old, which is a piece of paper with a photo on it that, I mean, I don't know. You could argue that holograms are a little bit newer than 100 years, I guess, but very modest modifications. And they're really just trying to design for anti-counterfeiting of the document instead of trying to actually verify the identity of the person in front of you. Identity, I think, is one of the most underestimated problems in the modern economy. Because if you think about the amount of fraud that exists out there and how much of that fraud relies on stolen or fraudulent identities, I would not be surprised at all if it was north of 60 or 70%, if not higher. Wouldn't shock me. I haven't actually seen that actual breakdown on how often it entails somebody pretending to be somebody they're not. But certainly, if you're going to commit a fraud, the first thing you want to do is prevent somebody from figuring out who you were.
Right. It's the
Right?
first step. Hmm.
Yeah. Now, what's funny about the stage accident thing is like in that case, you've brought people into it who are not being fraudulent about who they are. They're being fraudulent about their intentions,
Hmm.
and they've done so far a pretty good job of covering the tracks up of the ringleaders. But I would say far more common than stolen cars or stage accidents would be just people using stolen credit cards.
Hmm.
We see that. I mean, we see the attempts multiple times a day,
Right.
easy, and plenty of cases, probably several a week, where they are able to rent a vehicle with a fake ID, with a stolen credit card, and then we get the chargebacks that it was a stolen card. We lose those. That's just money that other people paid to us that is now going out to them, and it increases the cost of business and it makes it more difficult for other people because now increasingly we have to try and get people to jump through more and more hoops so that we can be certain they are who they say they are. And then on top of that, we have to charge more money because those hoops cost money too.
How do you why you're getting hit from every angle? I'm like, why do you still do this line of work?
Two kids in college, or one in college, one about to go in college,
Yeah.
and I think there's a certain point where you're like, shit, I should have picked something easier to do. I can't tell you how many times I've thought that, but I was a washed up major label musician with a high school degree, and I was just trying to figure out what can I do? I don't have any skills. I know how to play guitar, but like, what is that going to
Well,
do?
Sharky, I'm sure you didn't anticipate that these were going to be the problems that you were going to be dealing with.
I didn't anticipate having any problems. My business model was this is going to be smooth sailing all the way. And yeah, that wasn't the case. There's been all kinds of problems. And I mean, what can we do? But like, I mean, if you ask me, uh, I think that identity is a solvable problem. And I think that it is something that collectively we can organize ourselves around. Now, the challenge is you can have, uh, it's often that we're looking at trade-offs, and the trade-off is privacy versus security. Um, if you have complete privacy, so crypto would be a good example. You can't tell who made the exchange or trace it all the way back. So, ooh, great. Like nobody gets to see what I'm doing. Conversely, nobody can tell who it was that was trying to kidnap somebody or, steal a billion dollars or whatever, stuff that people are up to. The other side of that trade-off is you can have security. You have to actually, there has to be a plus 99% certainty that you are who you say you are. But then, as part of that trade-off, you lose a bit of your privacy. And in an era where it's very difficult to control data and stop other people from accessing data, there are certain people that gives them a lot of anxiety. And so the war is between people who want less crime and the people who want less surveillance. And that's really the tug of war there. Personally, I mean, my wife and I, we're pretty live our lives out loud kind of people. So like, I'm not as heavily optimized for privacy. I think anybody who's had a Jewish wife can relate to this. I mean, we don't.
Oh my gosh,
Uh,
totally. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I haven't had a Jewish wife. I have a Jewish husband. Does that count?
yeah, right. There is no such thing as TMI.
Right,
There's
right,
not enough information, but there's not
right.
too much information. So, I don't know, 25 years of marriage, you're like, all right, it's fine. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, we all are who we are, and like, I
yeah,
can live with that, right?
yeah,
Like, but
totally.
for some people, that is really deeply uncomfortable,
Right.
and for them, privacy is their happy space. And so, I've run into this. For instance, I had a situation with a stolen vehicle where it pulled in front of me on the highway. Coincidentally, I was coming home from the dentist.
Oh, this stuff just finds you.
Well, I mean, you run a fleet with hundreds of vehicles and you have a personal connection in a way
Right.
that maybe, whoever runs Hertz doesn't, right? So a vehicle pulls in front of me. I can tell it's one of my vans. I know what my vans look like. And it pulls in front of me. And I'm driving back to the office and I look at my watch and I'm like, oh, it's 5:05. They're probably headed back to the office. They're probably going to return it late. I better call the office and let them know, hey, stick around for a couple of minutes. Our customer is coming back. And so I call and they're like, oh yeah, sure, we can stick around. What's the license plate? And we'll pull the contract. So I read the license plate and they're like, Sharky, that's our stolen van. I was like, get the fuck out. And they're like, yeah, no, it is. It's our stolen van. And I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? And so I'm following this stolen van all over San Francisco. And I'm not, I'm calling the police. I'm trying to get
Right.
them to engage. Of
Yeah,
course, they won't,
yeah, yeah.
right? And there's all these
I
weird
mean, yeah,
laws.
why not? Why wouldn't they engage? Yeah,
Because there's a lot of weird laws around car rental where you're not allowed to report a vehicle stolen until at the time, this was the law, until it had been 7 days past due and you had sent a certified letter and gotten the receipt of the certified letter being received back. And then, after those two conditions were met, 7 days late, certified letter sent and received, then you are allowed to file stolen vehicle report. Now, we were past 7 days. And we had sent the certified letter, but we had not received the receipt back yet.
oh my gosh.
And so the police said, meh, sorry, good luck. So I followed all over the city. We get to the Mission, and they pull over. And I watched them doing some shady stuff. Like I watched them actually, like it was like being on my own crime show. Like I saw them fencing stolen goods in a dark parking lot. It was it was wild. And I'm all like down low in my car. And my wife is like, what are you doing? Get out of there, come home, and I'm like, I can't. This is our van. I got to get it back.
Exactly. Gotta
Yeah,
get this done, honey.
yeah. And so finally they pull in this sort of busy part of the Mission and they all go out and they go get some food from a restaurant. I watch them go into this Thai restaurant. So I get out of the car. There's a police station about a block away. And I go in. I'm like, maybe I can persuade a police officer just out of a sense of justice to like, forget policy. Just come with me.
Just
And,
gonna rile him up and get him
well,
going.
yeah, let's just get our fucking van. And so the guy at the desk, like, okay, hold on, let me ask my sergeant. He goes in. He's in the back for like 20 minutes. And then he finally comes out. He's like, yeah, I can't help you. I'm like, okay, all right, you can't help it. Can you just accompany me to my van, which is 1 block away? and you don't have to do anything. Just stand there. Don't have to do anything.
Right.
Just pretend it like you're on a beat patrol. And I will get my van back. And he's like, no, Sergeant said no. Or captain. It was the captain said no. So I'm like, I wasn't going to let this go. So I walked back to the van. They were just getting back into the van. And so I walk up to the van and I say, can you roll down your window? Which is funny because it really should be this, but so it was two women and a guy, and she rolls down the window, and I said, "Hey, how's it going?" And she says, "Okay, what's up?" And I'm like, "I'm from Bandago. I'm here to pick up our van. Just so you know, the police are coming. I just talked to them. It's a block down.
Yeah.
They're on their way. But if you give me the key, I'm like super defund the police guy. I don't want to see you guys go to jail. So if you just give me the key, I will. I'll just tell them that you weren't here. And if you want to, you can take off. They'll just catch you in a block or two. I
Yeah.
don't think
Yeah.
in a big black van you're going to get very far.
Yeah.
But I think probably you should just give me the key, and then that way you guys don't have to worry about getting arrested. And
God,
it,
you're having a whole conversation here. I mean, you're really giving them every
yeah,
logical reason to
yeah,
give the damn van back.
yeah. And holy fucking shit. She looks at her people and they're like, I don't know, maybe should we? I don't know, and then she hands me the key. Yeah. And I got the key in my hand and I'm like, ah, you know, and then they start pulling all their stuff out of the van. And it was weird. They were in no rush at all. They were not worried in the least. It was weird. And as I'm watching them take all the stuff out of the van, I didn't realize till like a week or two later what was happening. They kept pulling all these suitcases out of there. And I was like, what are they doing with all these suitcases? Were they like living in there? Were they moving? Like, what's going on? Then I realized it's a car theft ring. Those are tourist suitcases. They've been breaking into cars, using the van as the getaway vehicle,
Oh my goodness.
and they're stealing. And that's what they were fencing. They were like, hey, I got this person's luggage, give
Right.
me $50, give me $100, whatever it is. And when they left, they all had like uh, three or four suitcases each. So it was wild. So I went home and I tweeted about it. And I was like, check out this crazy story. And I had photos of like the van and photos of the van in a dark parking lot and
Yeah.
like, the whole thing, right? Like I had a whole story. And then I went to bed and I woke up in the morning and I opened Twitter and it wouldn't open. It kept crashing. I was like, what's going on? Um, and I drove to work and there were three satellite trucks parked in front of my office.
Hmm.
And that night, it was the lead story on every news network in the city because it just hit one of those
Yeah.
like people had hit their breaking point.
Right.
This is 2018, and
Yeah.
and people are just really done. And it went viral, and I wound up passing a law with Governor Brown to make it easier to turn on GPS tracking, to shorten the amount of time it takes for a van rental or any car rental company to report a vehicle stolen. And it wound up being a thing that had policy consequences,
Hmm.
and it led to me actually, as a direct result of this, it led to me participating in government, and I sat on the Small Business Commission. Now I'm on the Homeless Oversight Commission, and I work really closely with local government. And it was all because of this crazy stolen van story.
Yeah, but that is a great story. Last question for me, because I would love to hear, for the American Car Rental Association, is this
Yeah.
a topic you guys are talking about? Is this staged accidents, stolen vehicles? Bring me through that.
Yeah, we have a security committee, and our security committee, well, we discuss crime, we discuss fraud, uh, we create a forum for sharing information about different theft rings. I mean, for instance, I'm aware of a fairly recent thing where the same name was being used to rent hundreds of vehicles all over the country. And so one of the companies picked up on this, and then the other companies were able to learn about this, and we were able to follow up on that.
What was the end game for that person?
I don't know. I didn't actually get the story on like what the actual
Hmm.
business model of the fraud was.
Yeah,
I just saw the thing that, it's the same person. So obviously up to no good
yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
you can't be the same person renting on both ends of the country,
Wow.
within all the time and simultaneously. Uh, and then we also we address, certainly can't talk about it publicly, but I can characterize it. We also discuss any concerns about terrorism
Hmm. Hmm. Wow.
and work closely with Department of Homeland Security and FBI and trying to make sure that we do what we can to be helpful
Right.
in terms of stopping people with malicious intent from doing awful things.
Hmm. Right. But this whole the fraud staged accidents is certainly a concern for the association and a topic.
It is. It's had a huge impact. I think I mean, disproportionately big on us because we're small and we got such a heaping large serving of it. For instance, if they had done the same volume of accidents with Enterprise, it's possible Enterprise might not even have noticed because they have over 1 million vehicles, whereas, we don't have even 0.01% of that. So for us, having 15 accidents all in one city was, in the course of 2 to 3 months, that, it was impossible to ignore,
Right.
and very damaging to the company. But in aggregate, anybody doing these kinds of things, it's an arms race. Somebody comes up with a new business model on how they're going to, it's just like if they would have put this effort into actually doing something legitimate, they'd probably be killing it.
I know.
And they wouldn't have to worry about consequences.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
it, it, it's it's mystifying why people put this much energy into trying to do the wrong thing. I just don't. It's a little hard for me to wrap my head around.
Well, look, Sharky Laguana, I know if anybody's going to be out there trying to change it and tackle it and knock on doors and say, that's my vehicle, give me my keys, it's going to
It's
be you. So
right.
thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
Kristen, thanks a lot for having me. It's an important topic. I'm glad you're exploring this.
Great. Thank you.